Hi everyone, and welcome to yet another exciting episode of Bicycle Stories. Today's episode is promising to be an exciting one that will give you insights into the running space. Our guest today is somebody I've known for very many years, and I've seen him grow through the ranks of running today to become an elite recreational runner. David,
yes.
Most welcome to Bicycle Stories.
Yes, thank you very much, and I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, and of course, I'm with my co-host Kahaki.
Hi, everybody. I'm also excited to have David. As usual, I have a small story about David. I haven't known David for a very long time. I can say he's my Strava friend. You know, guys, you just follow on Strava because you see somebody running a lot. And what used to amaze me until I met him and understood is I'd wake up on a regular Tuesday to do a small 5K run. And I look at Strava before I go out for my run. Somebody has run 30 kilometers. I'm like, but it's only 6 o'clock. At what point did you wake up to do your 30 kilometers? So, David, it's exciting. We're excited to have you on Bicycle Stories, and we can't wait to hear what you have in store for us. Karibu sana.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about yourself, David.
Thank you very much. So, David Thuo is my name. I was born 48 years ago, so I'm 48 years young, heading to 50. In fact, nowadays, because I'm very okay with my age, I like telling guys, okay, I'm 50 minus 2 so that it looks a bit 50. because I'm happy to be how I look at 48. So
right.
Born in a small town just next door in Kikuyu, to a humble family for a humble background. I remember growing up and sitting around those kitchens outside with my mom in the kitchen, my sisters. I've got 4 sisters and 1 brother who came in very late in life. I remember getting a bit of a shock when I noticed something interesting with my mom when we were all big. So yeah, we are a family of 6. My father was a civil servant. My mom had I guess she still has, one of the most prestigious jobs in the world, which is taking care of babies. The one thing that I appreciate in my upbringing is the values that our parents instilled in us, which we carry on till today. So I'm an aircraft engineer by profession, and I run a business. I worked for various airlines for a bit, and then I started a business. I grew up the ranks of engineering and got to the top positions, and the only other way was either to stay there for the next 20 years because I was in charge of maintenance in one of the companies in Houston Airport at an age of 33. The only other thing was to stay there until retirement or to move on. So I did move on.
Nice.
I took a leap, an interesting leap, and aviation being very capital intensive, so we had to, and not having, we didn't come from families where you would be allocated a certain amount of money to start a business, so we did what people like us do, borrow money, etc. So we started an aircraft components maintenance business. And long story short, it's been a walk. So I am the CEO of a company called Dedonis Limited that overhauls aircraft components in Wilson Airport. We service components for aircrafts and airlines in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and Ethiopia. So when I'm not running, because most people see the running bit of me.
Yes, exactly. People don't think so. We didn't know you worked.
The funny part is that David,
Yeah.
one time Kahaki asked me, does David do anything else?
Yeah, I know. Because
It seems like you're always running.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing else to you,
That's
But
so cool,
It's so nice to know that background.
Yeah.
And it's something most people don't even know.
Yes, most people don't know. In
Yeah.
fact, I remember an interesting story. A certain reverend came to the church that I go to, and they were discussing me, and one knew me from the running circles with someone, the other knew me from the aviation side. And they are talking and they're saying, it seems like the same person. But eventually they realize it's actually the same person, but they knew me from different spaces.
Yeah.
And the reason, Kahaki, why I run at
3
that time,
yes.
3 a.m. is because I've got a full day every day.
Yeah.
And for me, the same way I do the running is the same way I work, is the same way I engage in everything that I do. And you remember, even as we set out for this podcast, I was very clear, let us do it when it's the right time, because I like to give 100% or nothing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I'm not committed 100%, I don't take it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Good. So, David,
Yeah.
maybe when did this running start? You've told us about your upbringing.
Yes.
But at some point, you then became serious about running.
Yes.
And if I may just take you back to our days at Silver Springs,
Yes.
if you recall.
Yes, very well.
We used to go to the gym,
Yes.
and there was a kind of a running club there.
Yes.
That used to start off at about 5:36, and
Yes.
on occasion you'd come.
Yes.
And a friend of mine, we were running with her, Nina.
Yes, very well, yes.
and somehow I think you kind of used to admire our commitment to that running.
Yes.
And on the other hand, we're also looking at you and thinking, David,
Yes.
how can he think of us as anything to admire?
Yes,
But,
in running.
yeah, so the story goes.
Yes.
How did it start?
Yes, it's very interesting because if there's anyone who hated running, it was me.
Wow.
And I would give every excuse not to run. We got our son when I was 23, my wife was 20. So the only thing we could afford for her to get back in shape, lose the pregnancy weight, was actually running because it's free. We just needed a pair of shoes and to run.
And to go out.
And that's how it started. So I started as a watchman in the run, so I had to accompany her.
Yeah.
So eventually I cultivated that, but I must say that I've run the most the last 10 years, and every year I add another year. The last 10 still seems to be even more.
Yeah.
So yes, that is how it started. So by default, and it talks to issues of life, the way you start something or you stumble into something and you don't know where that path leads you, but you take it, and here we are. I think I've gotten into a space where I would comfortably say that with all humility that I am one of the biggest names in recreational
Elite.
running.
Say it.
You're
Just
an
say
elite
Yeah.
recreational runner. That's exactly what you
I
are.
mean,
Yes.
You're a 6-star general.
Yes.
You recently completed the Tokyo Marathon.
Yes.
Which was the first one? Which one did you do? What
Of
was
the
it
World
called?
Majors.
Yeah, which one of the World Majors did you do?
In the journey of running, of course, I started with Standard Chartered, Sotokotos, the 10s.
Yeah.
I remember being very naive and thinking that, the first time I went running, that there's no lady who can beat me, and I'm not a male chauvinist.
Yeah, yeah.
But I just, the way when you sit with your mom in the kitchen, you think she's the best cook.
Yeah.
So I thought, no, then I went out there in Stanchart and the ladies were zooming. I even didn't realize that I was so far from the elites. And interestingly, Rose, when we were running in Silver Springs, we never even used to have gadgets to track.
No.
So so I remember us going to Kili for the first time, and what we thought we were training for as 15 was probably an 8. And then we went to Kili. It looked like a long, long way away.
Because we were not measuring. We're not
measuring,
just
just
running.
You're just
Just to get up
but-
and go.
Yeah, but I feel that
And then
8.
in your mind, you think, because I've left, Silver Springs, Hurlingham, and gone all the way to State House, that
It
must,
must
be
be
20.
like it must
That's
be
crazy,
Yes.
Because you're thinking you've gone running not by car, so of course it must be.
It must
far.
be very far.
Yeah, that time you've just done 6 kilometers or something.
Yes, so we've come a long way. So eventually you interact with people, and I heard about the World Marathon Majors. Then I was approaching 40, and I said, look, for my 40th, I want to do a number of things. One of them was the Abbott World Marathon Majors. So I started with London.
Okay.
And for those who may not know, the Abbott World Marathon Majors is a circuit of races by Abbott that constitutes of the biggest races in the world. That is London, New York, Berlin, Boston, Chicago, and Tokyo.
Yeah.
So it's the mother of all races, circuits. So I did London, New York, then I went to Boston. I had a very interesting run in Boston. Actually, I had a hypothermia attack. So there's Boston, then Chicago, then Berlin, then Tokyo. 2020, COVID happened, so Tokyo was cancelled. It was cancelled. Then 2021, it was made an elite race. So we kept on. I remember actually before it was cancelled, we needed during that COVID time, 2020, to actually train for speed work, and our stadiums were closed. And I actually started training in Karen, a certain loop that has been now named FWD, Fitness with David, Vienna Loop, because that's where I could do speed work. So FWD, I started highlighting it, and eventually it has become one of the places to train in Nairobi. So I was doing my training there, then they cancelled it. 2022, we're supposed to they again made it elite. So 2023, they actually brought it back, and I was supposed to go and finish. Unfortunately, last minute, I missed a very critical email. Almost a day to the deadline. I saw it in trash right after the deadline. They sent it the day before to confirm. I missed it, went to trash. So I actually missed it in 2023.
Wow.
And it was so devastating. But for me, the thing is, I always say, whatever happens, there is always a reason. So 2024 it was, so I completed in 2024, so eventually becoming a general, way behind many people who had started after me. And like I say, in life, you can take different paths to the same location, but eventually get there, and you've got to be comfortable with that space.
True.
Yeah, so that you're not stressed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in all these majors that you've done,
Yes.
which has been your best time? I know
Yes.
some of them are famed for PBs like
Yes.
Berlin.
Yes.
I don't know whether that is where your best time is.
Yes.
And then again, maybe a little bit about Boston. What
Yes.
exactly happened, and how did you overcome that to even finish the 42? Yeah.
So actually, my fastest is Berlin 2019. So that was 2 hours 38:59. And for me to achieve that, I mean, this was a time when there was hardly any, we were a crop of recreational runners who struggled really to get to sub 3. Sub 3 being under 3-hour marathon.
hours.
Nowadays, left, right, center, they sub 3s. Nowadays, I do sub 3s in training. I've lost track of my sub 3s. Right? So
Hey, but
basically,
do I
because
say,
We dream.
I'm able to do a sub 3 in a training.
We dream of
with all humility.
sub 5.
As we dream of just 4 point something. I was like, yes,
Yes,
okay.
and you know what I say? Everyone has their space.
Yes,
The key
yes.
thing is that
Thank
we
you,
must
thank
give
you,
our
thank
best.
you, thank you, thank
We
you.
must give our
Validate, I
best.
feel validated.
And I always know that everyone, as long as they are putting in their best,
Yeah.
they have actually put in the work. So the fact that we are fast does not mean that we are working harder than the others. Everyone is working hard at their
As hard
space.
as they
And we all
can.
have different abilities, and we must appreciate that. And over time, you get to learn that you must appreciate these things.
Yeah.
So yeah, Berlin fortunately was my fastest. And normally what happens, sometimes even when you go to the fastest course, you're not guaranteed of fastest time.
Right.
Because every season slaps differently.
Yeah, that's so true. That's
You
so
can
true.
go
Yeah.
you can go to a very fast course, but you're not
You're not
You're not
informed.
informed.
For,
Yeah.
for whatever reason, yeah.
And you can even be informed,
And
and
the
something
body-
like Boston happens.
Yeah.
You can be informed, but you just a bite. There's so many things. You know, a race has too many moving parts.
Yeah.
You just hope they all synchronize. And that's why they say for you to break a world record, it's like having a cake where all ingredients are right. You know, the temperature, the fly is
sugar.
correct, etc. When all those things come together,
together.
or most of them, that's
Yeah.
when you get probably a world record.
Yeah.
But it's not guaranteed.
Yeah.
Boston, it's the oldest of the World Marathon Majors.
Right.
So I did the 126th edition, and you know, for me it's very inspiring that people have been running for so long, 100 plus. I mean, when we were busy probably still hunting, people were running marathons. But anyway, that's a story for another day. But it's just very, very inspiring. So yeah, Boston, we started off. It was very cold. And what happens with Boston, you are driven away to the start line, and then you find your way back to the finish line. So the weather was terrible. In fact, they say it's one of the worst weathers in the history of the race. And when we were cold and we carried jackets, extra jackets. Then when you start, we normally remove them.
Yeah.
And for me, it is never a time in my life where I thought cold would be a problem. It is always heat, because
Yeah.
we train in heat.
Yeah.
And normally those temperatures are okay for you. They actually give you a temperature that you are normally running at a temperature that is very good for optimal performance. But this went overboard. There was snowing. And I remember running with a friend of mine called Jack. And at about 15 kilometers, I started feeling my calves were locking.
Yeah.
And normally this is a feeling you would experience at 35, 37, and you have just a short way to go. Then I'm confused. I'm like, look, this shouldn't be happening. I mean, I've trained well. I've trained on hills. But little did I know then that actually the
cold.
temperature was shutting down my body. And you know what the body does? The brain is very intelligent. If you are going through something that threatens life, it starts shutting down faculties that are not necessary. Then I remember we got to 21 and my lips felt like they had anesthesia. I was talking like this. I was sitting with my friend Jack. and then I couldn't see very well. So every time I blinked, I would open my eyes and I would see darkness.
Blur.
And, blood. And
Yeah.
then I was asking Jack, unaona? And then my lips are feeling very big. So,
your cups are
like
heavy.
we say, we are all different. He was struggling, but not as much. I was really, really struggling. But I tell you, at some point I told him to go.
Yeah.
Then I remember.
And you were still, all this time, your lips are swelling,
They-
but you're still running.
Yes.
And your cups
my
are heavy.
My calves are heavy, I'm slowing down. So I just let him go. Normally we run up to
Yeah.
some point and then whoever has the strength now carries
Keep going.
on.
Yeah.
Because normally you're holding back the first few kilometers so that you don't burn out. But so
Yeah.
I let him go.
Yeah.
Then by about 28, I would blink and when I open now, I would see darkness.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's when I realized something is terribly
Yeah.
wrong. Then over a little bit, a little before 30, I would blink. Then I would stagger, and I knew something is certainly
very
wrong.
Wrong, yeah.
But I checked myself into one of those medical camps, and when that's when it hit me. It was actually the cold because there were too many people inside there. They had heaters. They had some people on drip.
Yeah.
And then I realized, it's actually the cold. And I read about, every time I saw hypothermia, I would look at that sentence
that's
because
not
I read
you.
a lot. That can be me. Normally I'd be worried about generating too much heat. And that was what happened. And in fact, that race was won by a Japanese guy and an American lady.
Right.
And most of the guys who we would have imagined would win did not finish.
Right.
I went from medical tent to medical tent in taking soup. So my hydration became
So the
soup.
remaining 12.
12,
And the remaining 12.
essentially.
And I remember actually, I told myself, look, where is 12 kilometers? Then we were running from Heron.
Right.
Where is 12 kilometers from Heron? And I said, look, I am there. I am going to try and make it back to Heron.
Wow.
That is what carried me along.
Wow.
I can't even tell you the shape of the finish line in Boston. My work was to carry myself to the finish line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So David, you graduated from, our aim is 42s, and you get to
Yes.
42, we're just like, man, you tick that box, you're like, I'm good for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you graduated from, 42s to now to doing Comrades.
Yes.
And not just one, you've now done 5. You just recently finished got your 5th medal.
Yes.
Tell us about that journey. I mean, us, we just watch and just be like, 90 kilometers.
I know.
Yes.
How is that? This time was 86, right?
86
kilometers.
Yes, it gravitates.
90, 86.
Yeah.
Just,
Same.
it's the
It's
same
the
thing.
same.
It's the same thing.
Ultra. It's past
Yeah.
42. It's
It's-
past a dream, would never
It's
have.
past, yeah.
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 It's beyond.
It's an issue of slowing down your 21 to
Yeah.
carry on.
Yeah.
And because the thing with the brain, if you program 21, you'll get tired somewhere before 21. So you'll almost feel like dying 18, 17. So the last 4 become a very big challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, when you program 25, you might notice 21, 24. When we program 30,
Yeah.
21 is a number. I
Yeah.
mean, when I'm training
Pass
for
it, yeah.
Comrades, and I'll say how I got into Comrades, 42 is just a number. When I was turning 40 many years ago, it's amazing. It just looks like the other day.
It does. For,
I mean,
yeah,
it's
it does
just-
for all of
that's
us.
life. And
We can't even believe that
I don't
we
even
reach
know
here.
if I've changed much, but anyway, I'm trying to keep young at heart, even if the physical body changes,
changes.
the heart still remains
Yeah.
the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, but I said I would do. So I crossed the 42 a little earlier in Stanchart. And then I did Kili,
Love.
etc. So I told myself I've got to do something big for 40.
For 40.
So I did 56. And for me, once I crossed from 21 to 42, and so I didn't die, or in
Yeah.
quotes,
Yeah.
then it was very easy to move to anything else. So I did 56, 2 oceans in
Cape Town.
Cape Town.
Yeah.
And the same year, I did Comrades 90. So when I crossed the finish line, I saw a guy with 2 medals, and I was like, how do you get 2 medals? Oh, when you do back-to-back. I was like, what is that? So basically, when you do a race this year, and normally it would be either an up or a down, depending
Yeah.
on which one you start with.
Yeah.
So up is Durban to Pietermaritzburg, And there is nothing up or down about the two. They are both very, very hard, by the way, just for the record.
I was going to ask you,
Both the up and the down are very hard, because the up, the first 30, 40 kilometers, you're climbing a lot. It's just at the end you descend a lot. So I went back in 2017.
Wow.
And actually when I went back, the same year I did that was when I did the back-to-back. I also did London. So I had to do London, have a small gap, and then go and do the back-to-back.
Wow.
So long story short, then after some years, then I was finishing the majors. What next? Of course, there are many places to run in the world, but I said, let me take a go at Comrades. And I trained very well for that Comrades. That is
now this
that'll
be your third one.
Yes, the third one.
Yeah.
That is 2022. I was in very good shape. And the reason why I went back is because at 10th, having completed the majors, then the next thing was to find another milestone. It's just something to bite on and to keep me going. I want to keep running.
And something to look forward to.
Of course, I train a lot for good health, which is primary, and for my own personal. That is
fitness.
My space.
Yes.
For fitness, one. And again, for me, running is a very key part of giving back to myself. It is my time.
Yeah.
So the whole day, the reason why we wake up early, we have a lot to do, but that space is my space, and that is where I take care of myself. I say I'm the goose that lays the golden egg. I have to find some few hours for myself, and that is my time.
That's your time.
And because life can be very draining, you must find a space where you fill in your cup, because I say you can only be you are the best version if your cup is full.
True.
Because out there, your cup is drained.
It's drained,
so
constant.
if I'm drained to the air, there's nothing in my cup. I have nothing to offer my family. I have nothing to offer to work, my friends, my life.
Yeah.
And I say this life is for living. It's too short. We are only here. We come here for a short time, and we must make the most out of it. And one of the biggest things is that we must take care of ourselves, and it's our responsibility.
That's true.
And it is our. I say you cannot put your happiness in anyone's. It is not anyone's business.
It's in your
it is
hands.
your business.
Yeah.
How do you maintain your nutrition to support your
level
activity?
Of activity?
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
My diet is very informed.
Yeah.
I actually take all my meals with me every day. At about 9 or 10, I'll take the egg and some veggies with some tea. At lunchtime is normally some protein. It will be probably a piece of chicken or some meat and veggies.
Okay.
And if I'm not running tomorrow hard, I don't take any other carb. For me, the carb in the morning works.
Okay.